Yeah, you have this desire. This is part 7. There's this big desire to be full on fire for God, and just over the top, over the top. It's very confusing for, I guess, when a boy or a girl is brought up in it, they don't go through that as much. They have their parents to support them through that. But if you don't have your parents to support that, you just get fed by the group that you join and stuff like that, so yeah, you really have a desire to be full on for God, and it can be a very confusing time. So I was having experience still, but they were religiously based ones, because the thing is, like, and I firmly know that God is attached to all of that, what happened in my life. It wasn't so much the thing of that God may have sent bad things to me or scary things to me and all that. It's just that where I was in life it's a very interesting thing. It's a very interesting thing. But I know God was with me through the whole thing. And now that I wouldn't call myself a hardcore religious person anymore. I lost myself, and Christians are beautiful people, they mean well, they really do. And I just lost myself. I just kind of felt that my own inner self spirit is being controlled, and I'm taking on ideas. Like, I didn't like the idea of thinking I should support people I didn't think were right. There's these preachers who love money and things like that, and you couldn't even have an opinion about it, otherwise you were seen as judging them. And I really felt like I was in what people would call maybe Gloryville, but without all the sex stuff. You've got to support things that you don't think are right, and if you stand up against it, you're kind of told to, oh, it's okay, just give it to the Lord. So they do, how do you say it? Yeah. So I stepped right back from that fundamentalist idea of Christianity. I consider myself a Christian, but I consider myself a very open one. I consider myself, and I'm happy to say, and I'm not going to sit here and say I am going to go to heaven. I'm going to say, Lord, if you allow it, I would love to go back home, if you would allow me. That's how I see it. It pisses me off when people like to spout off that we're all going to heaven and this bunch isn't going. And I'm like, that's so horrible. That's just wrong. And I don't want to think that kind of shit, because it's ignorant, it's blasphemous, and it just shows how carnal human beings are. I'm not perfect. Honestly. I'm far from it. And the Lord probably said, I'm sure, when I permanently are gone, the Lord's probably going to say to me, boy, you were a real mission, weren't you? I'm going to say yes. And I got no qualms about saying sorry. I've been in my spirit before, and I will talk about that. But I want to talk about finishing off the mortuary one. But I grew a very healthy respect for the deceased, and I got to admit, I have to be honest here, like, when I first started, I had I had an orderly who trained me. His name was Dale, and he was fantastic. He was a wonderful guy. He was such a awesome orderly. He was from the old school days from up the hill, and I was so privileged to have him teach me. And he used to call me Donga Head. you know, because he was a trained orderly and here's me trying to follow his footsteps. And I remember he said to me, right, there's been a big cut, there's been a MVA, you come with me, I'm going to show you how to empty the back of the ambulance out, because back in that time we unloaded the people out of the ambulance. They didn't have the staff they did now, the auxiliaries and all that, so we were used in everything, lifting, everything. We were pretty much, so it was a good time when I actually joined back in 95, 96 area. And and I said to him, he was good, he was like a dad. And I was kind of like really nervous. I'd never even seen anybody in a car crash before. I was very new. I didn't know what I was about to see, you know. And I said to him, what do I do? And he used to say to me, just watch me, son. Just watch me. And this ambulance, you could hear this ambulance coming. They used to, when they had the status 1s, they were status 3s. They were status 3s back then. But then they switched it round to status 1 being the serious one, but it used to be status 3. So when the ambulance had status 3s in the back, you'd hear the ambulance and you would hear the air horns going, and they used to go apeshit, and they'd come rolling in, hoofing in, and then they'd back up, and then our job would be to open up the back, get in there, start to get these. First we'd wait for the ambulance stuff to get out the way, and then we'd get them out. And sometimes the ambulance staff would be resuscitating them while we're trying to get them out of the thing, and then get them into resus, because resus was the serious thing. Yeah. And the ambulance backed up, and Dale opened the doors, and I just stared. I just stared. I'm not going to tell you what I saw, but I'd never seen anything like that before, and I was just dumbstruck. I just stepped back a bit and just watched. I was shocked at what I saw, you know. I'd never seen that before. Someone in a condition like that. He taught me a lot, Dale. He was a very strong man. He was a good man. And yeah, he was a good orderly. And there was Stuart Rangihuna, and Stuart Rangihuna had only been there for quite a short time, and Stewie had put it on himself to learn every orderly job and to learn it well. He was fantastic. Stuart Rangihuna, beautiful guy, man, fucking magic, pardon. He was wonderful, pardon kids, and I learned a lot from Stu. He was a really good guy. He was a Christian man, still is. And it was so interesting when I was there. I was very gung-ho. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to learn everything I could. And especially on the mortuary side of stuff, I wanted to learn everything in there. And I did. I learned a hell of a lot. If you look at my CV, it involves a lot of patient work and a heck of a lot of the deceased work that we did. You know, I've got a big list of stuff, you know, because it was quite regular for me, because I used to volunteer for a lot of it. And actually by the end of it all, I actually no longer wanted to really have much to do with the status 3 stuff that came in, but actually became status 1. I just didn't want to see it anymore. You know, I didn't want to have a crazy day. I didn't want to have an exciting day, because in the beginning it was like, to me it was learning, experiencing, but after being there for many years, it meant all having an exciting day meant was that someone's dead, dying, or is in a critical situation. And that's what that meant when it was serious. And I didn't want to see that anymore. I didn't want that I didn't wish for that to happen anymore. I just had enough. Just have enough. You see a lot. you know. And the nurses and the doctors are stupendous. They are amazing. They are so brave and so strong in their jobs. They're in there. I tell you what, the situation when serious stuff comes in, they're very, it's all about saving that life. And they're in there, hands and all, man, hands and all. I even saw a nurse trying to get stuff to the patient real quick, and she tripped over and just kind of did a roll. We're talking even people are falling over each other to save these people's lives, you know. And I always remember the first time that I was there when they did when they called it, and it was full on, you know, full on. Everyone's in there. God, I'll tell you what, the teams, they're amazing. Nurses, theatre staff, the doctors, it's amazing. They're amazing what they used to do. They're true heroes, they really are. The ambulance guys, true heroes. They've always been heroes from day one for me, man. Once I kind of got to, you know, with the hospital and stuff, they're heroes. They really are. They put their own emotions, their own health, their own safety and everything aside to save lives, you know. And of course they always keep themselves safe, but they are there, man. They do their job as best as possible. And they're strong people, but they have the best personalities ever. They have such a sense of humour. And some of the guys are just in the ambulance were very funny people. You could have a joke with them and stuff, you know. And but when it came down to the hard nitty gritty, they were in there. They were in there, balls and all, man. I tell you what, if it wasn't for them getting the people to the hospital, a lot of people would not have made it. A lot of people don't make it, especially with the resuscitating ones, status 1 serious, status 1's heading onward. But if it wasn't for them, a lot of people would never have survived getting into hospital. The work that they do is truly amazing. Very special people. And my grandmother and my grandfather and my great uncle were all ambulance people. My nana, Jean Cording, used to train the cadets, the girls, and my grandfather was a volunteer on the ambulance, and he trained people as well. And my great uncle, I don't know so much about what my great uncle did, but he worked on the ambulance. His name was Alan Wotton. So yeah, but I always wanted to get involved in some type of medical thing, you know. And my cousin was the same. His sisters were all nurses, and he became an orderly, then an anaesthetist, and now he sells motorbikes, you know. So it's been in the family, not my family, but my grandparents and my cousins, yeah, for sure. So yeah, well, I'm going to end this one and start the next one.